So, hello. I have a little candle here, but it's hard to get my face and the candle in together. I don't know how you do that. I have to sit further back, maybe. That kind of works. Okay. So here I am in my yurt, and I am excited to be starting this new part of my life with Wild Earth Wisdom teachings and to do an online series of seminars and explorations and experiences, as well as I have my yurt here where I can do things indoors. And the yurt is this beautiful space with a highlight with us. I don't know if you can see the skylight there. There's a space for 18 yoga mats and about 45 chairs. Presentation screen. And a wood stove for the winter. And it's pretty awesome space to do anything in. And so now I'm just going to take a candle. I'm going to start by doing a smudge stick. We are here today I smudge and bless anybody who's watching this video, either in the present moment or in the future. I invite you to the Rooted Resiliency, the Empaths Emotional Alchemy Guide to Finding Your Inner Radiance, an online seminar, and also preparation for 4 lessons in June that will talk about it in detail. And I really am excited to be starting this and look forward to more of these kinds of things in the future. That'll be a lot easier than this first time. There's so much preparation and new things to consider in terms of technology and marketing and digital tech. It's like, wow, I'm still learning things. Okay, so I'm going to switch now to sharing my screen and putting on a PowerPoint presentation, and we'll see how that goes. There we are. And yeah, you still have people on the side. That's good. Somebody has their mic on low. Well, can you turn off your mic? Or I can do it, actually. There, that was fast. Thanks. And okay, so we're going to start here now. There, it works. Amazing. So, yeah, okay. Welcome to Rooted Resiliency, the Empath's Alchemical Guide to Finding Your Inner Radiance. I'm going to start at first with my little story about how I had a spiritual awakening. It was in 1995. That's about almost 30 years ago. I had the end of my marriage was kind of a shock to my system. And I had a number of experiences within a short few days or a week that really, the stress of the intensity of the unknown of that really and then I did a very deep intuitive wisdom workshop that and the whole combination opened up my top chakras, and all of a sudden I could see and hear beyond ordinary perception. So it was shown to me or explained to me that this is a spontaneous Kundalini awakening, because all of my content was a spiritual. And so then the person that was guiding me really brought me down into my body and grounded me, and then really very carefully coached me over the next year, actually 2 years, to really learn how to manage this new way of being. So my whole body had intense emotional experiences. I also had body tremors that were quite intense at the time, but they would come and go according to emotional content. And I also began to experience past lives, which I had no context or training in to understand. And I just kept moving through them and learning lessons about them and myself, and it awakened my connection with who I was in my soul, and not just this particular lifetime. It took many, many years to integrate, but it was also a very profound learning. So in the Western model of understanding this, you would be labeled as having a psychotic break, and you would be put into a psych ward, and you'd be drugged up, and you'd be told you're having hallucinations. But thankfully, I attracted the right kind of people to me, and I was really supported in this experience by, also I found through this person that was guiding me, a spiritual community that was integrating shamanic teachings with psychotherapy and shadow work awareness. It was an amazing combination that I did for a few years during this time that really did so much benefit for me, and really affirmed the gifts that I was experiencing, because other people were hearing or seeing these things as well at times. And so it became a whole journey of understanding my body as having had deep ancestral, generational, relational trauma, and starting to wake up to coming back more into my body, doing a series of little ego deaths and soul retrieval experiences in a variety of ways over 30 years, off and on, still going through it. But it gets more, it's like a spiral, and it gets more and more refined and more deeper levels, and greater sensitivities and awareness and groundedness in the body. So I call my work a spiritual embodiment work now. And yeah, it's been quite the process. So during that initial period, I had the opportunity. I'm also a retired architect, and I specialize in straw bale buildings, but I also am very creative. And I won a little competition in downtown Toronto, and to do these amazing bronze door handles. And I had my very first poem that I ever wrote on the with a bronze plaque with my name on that building. Now, I've been the project architect, the senior person running the whole show of a number of buildings in Ontario, and none of them have my name on the front, beside the front door, but this one does. So in my opinion, it's way better to be an artist than just an architect, where you're kind of hidden in the whole thing. So I was able to become increasingly resilient, and because I learned how to adapt to change. Change is not easy for anyone, but when you understand the larger experience of it all, it's actually, even though it can feel overwhelming and like a breakdown, it's actually a breakthrough. And it's an opportunity to allow that old unconscious material to come through and learn how to stay present to it, to embody it, to feel it, in order to let it go and be reorganized in something that's better. And so that's been my philosophy every time I go through one of these things. It's like, okay, I'm just shifting up to an up level, a higher vibrational frequency, and I have to let go of the lower vibrational frequency way of being that I was. To me, it seems like a never-ending process, but it does have, when you are able to be accepting and allowing of it, it does have a larger ability to move through it more easily and quickly, actually. So in my 40s, so I'm in my early 60s now, and in my 40s, I did many, many solo wilderness canoe trips in Ontario, because I was terrified of being alone. And I knew that there was something there that I had to try to face. I have in my soul, a very strong spiritual warrior or something. And so I just, like, somebody mentioned to me that you can, instead of going forward with fear, you can go fearward, which is you choose to be fear. And one of the things I learned in the Buddhist teachings from Chögyam Trungpa that Shambhala lineage, was that we can feel the fear and we can keep moving while still present to the fear and still go through and change. And so that was defined as fearlessness. And that's what I think is possible, because that's what I do. So I also did lots of drawings and things like that as well. I have a big creative side. These drawings are what I call emotional feeling drawings. So I would have a very intense emotional state, and I would alchemically transmute it through just doing a completely intuitive drawing, having no plan beforehand of what I wanted to draw, just working with colors and shapes and seeing what happens. And by the end of it, I would sort of take some space away from the drawing, and then I would look at it, and then I would start to use my analytical brain rather than the creative brain. I would use my analysis of things, and like dream analysis essentially, and make an interpretation, understanding what the drawing was about. But usually by the end of the drawing process or any creative process, I feel always so much better. It was a really amazing way to transmute that. And so long story short, about 10 years ago, in my early 50s, I landed from having lived in the 30 years ago. For those first several years of my awakening, I lived on the poverty line, and I had no money, and I was really, I was falling apart. And it was like the worst thing that happened to me, to just lose your ego and who you think you are. But actually, it was the best thing that happened to me, because it allowed me to let go and reorganize myself from the old dysfunctional ways of belief systems and learning how to vibrationally attract things. It really was a way to dissolve it and let it go. And then I was able to pick and choose, what do I want? And one of the biggest two things that I always carried through for 30 years is I want clarity and I want integrity. Those were the two things that I did not understand when I started with. And each time, every year, it just becomes more solid and stronger and real. So I know that those are soul core values for me that are really, really important, and that I stand in, or I try as hard as I can to stand in. And so now I live on a 16-acre hobby farm, and I've been here about half the time alone. And then I share it sometimes with other people, and occasionally a partner. And but now I'm single and I'm managing it, which is not easy, but I love it. I love riding my John Deere mower and mowing the lawns. I love everything to do with gardening, and I did not grow up with that in one little bit. I lived in apartments, and always the plants inside the house would die because I wouldn't remember to water them. and so here it's just like I don't have enough time to get outside because I'm doing all this other stuff inside the house. And over the last 7 years, actually, I cared for my mother at home. She had dementia, and I chose to be the main caregiver for her. And so that was a whole other story and a whole unique process, but that's what kept me here, in order to hold stability for her, and with the team of caregivers that I had in the community around here that were so special for me to work with. So yeah, this farm, about 2 years ago, I did a yurt here. I don't know if you can see the cursor, but hopefully you can. And I installed a 26-foot diameter yurt, which you can see behind me. And I do some in-person events once in a while, and I also rent it out to other healers or practitioners doing different things. I have people that are in the shamanic world and in the plant medicine world, and sometimes other events as well. So like personal events. And I also have started, I'm going to be starting, I've been working on for 3 years, about 5 different glamping spots. And this year, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be rolling them out. So that's pretty exciting. And I have a special spring-fed swimming pond that is, I have 2 ponds. One is for irrigation, that I installed a whole irrigation system to feed the gardens and the fields. I installed like a whole mini dwarf orchard of about 35 different trees and bushes. And it's been just, I had beehives, I've had chickens. it's been a labor of love and really preoccupied a lot of my time. And I'm trying to do less so I have more space to have play. That's the thing. I just love, I'm so curious all the time. I always want to learn something new. And then at a certain point, I realize, oh my God, I'm doing all these things I love, but I can't like stay on top of them all by myself. So anyways, it's a process. So to start for today, Rooted Resiliency is about how we ground, grow, and glow. And it's about exploring your inner world of how, which is what today is about our resiliency and our adaptability and flexibility to bounce back fast. And that's what I have. I can bounce back fast for pretty much anything. And each time it's getting faster and faster. And our outer resiliency is also adaptability and flexibility to the way the earth is changing. And I really have, as part of my journey, a deep connection with Mother Earth Gaia. And I feel her discomfort with the way she's been treated over the last really only 100 years so badly after thousands of years. And so she's so dysregulated in her system as we are being dysregulated more increasingly with higher highs and lower lows and quick in betweens. In fact, on the earth, there is a frequency of about 7.8 hertz that's supposed to be around the circumference. And that's what what resonates with our brains and keeps our stability. And from what I understand, that energy, that frequency has been moving from 7.5 to 30, and it goes up and down now. And so when it's at 30, it's like way out of balance and we feel it. So sometimes when we're feeling off, it's because we're so connected to her. We are made of all of the minerals, and the particles of soil is also part of our body. We're like, mostly water, and she's mostly water. And so there's an amazing interconnectedness that's phenomenal, that is really a problem. And so I'm hoping that we are going through a really huge change and shift very, very rapidly now, according to a lot of these spiritual teachers. That's never happened before in the history of the earth. It's never been precedented as this way. And they're explaining it as that our frequency of the whole earth consciousness and the earth itself is moving to a higher frequency really rapidly over the last, well, I heard somebody talking about it 20 years ago, actually. But really, this month, amazingly, is like this big, big intensity, kind of like boom of somebody commented as, what was it, the phrase that he said? It was brace for impact, whatever that meant. And so it could mean something different for lots of different people. So we can really learn easier and more natural ways of being within through becoming curiosity, and allowing are really ways to embrace our inner world, to move through things. And we can integrate this with how we live more sustainably in our world and learn more eco-sustainable practices, which is why I'm on my hobby farm teaching myself over the last 10 years, 15 actually. I was living somewhere nearby as well, to how to grow my own food and have a can, preserve, dehydrate, a cold cellar I built, all sorts of things so that I can have some sense of stability and eco responsibility around all of this. So there are three main rooted resiliency principles. And why would I focus on saying this is the Empaths Alchemical Emotional Alchemy Guide is because empaths are really, I'm an empath, and I work best with people who are empaths. And empaths are the people I feel that are going to change the world. But many of us are struggling. And so we tend to be over pleasers, over givers. Our perfectionism is part of that. Many people can often feel other people's pains or pick it up, an energy in their body, and they don't know how to stop it or differentiate it. And it can be overly compassionate for others and not compassionate for themselves. So they will take an emphasis to always be centered around another person. Often an empath is wounded in childhood by a parent who has a stronger narcissistic element, where they need everybody to be centered around them. And we all have narcissism. We all start with that. And then we all learn to individuate and eventually learn how to be inclusive with other people and not feel threatened by the differences. And so that's a whole maturing and evolutionary process collectively for all of us. And we tend to be very merging or codependent in relationships. So we don't really have a strong sense of separateness and boundaries. We just kind of morph into what the other person is to please them, to consciously give them, which causes a lot of low self-caring capacity, and self-love and insecurity and low self-esteem. That's all interconnected and related to those basic core issues. And we can have, in the spiritual empaths, a lot of what I call toxic positivity. So it's like, oh, let's just not focus on the negative. We just keep holding and visualizing and feeling the positive. Everything's going to be okay. But it doesn't quite work like that, because you still have an unconscious element that your body holds, like an implicit memory. This is what we call it. We have explicit memory in our head, but our body remembers the patterns and the relational things, and it has a vibrational frequency that attracts that old trauma. And if we don't allow, for example, our triggers to be mined for the information that it gives us, it's not about it's bad to have triggers. Our triggers are actually giving us information that's about the past always, and it has content in there that we can decode and learn how to grab onto it and change. And so that's actually, we're finding in the whole neuroscience world that that's really key, is body sensation feeling. And so being overly toxic or even overly positive is not serving us anymore. It was a stage we had to go through, and now we have to evolve beyond that in order to be learning how to take that beautiful spiritual awareness and embody it more clearly in the body. So it's about that toxic positivity is about ignoring the dark, not go there, and it's always too hard. So I call that spiritual bypassing, and it results in a lot of unconscious poor boundaries and an inability to understand what the messages of the emotions are, to know what you feel in order to know what you need, in order to know what to ask for. And that's the hardest thing for empaths, is the ability to ask for what they need. And it's also the same category, in my opinion, for highly sensitive people or HSPs. And their whole list of symptoms. There's a whole, you can Google that and you get a lot of information about that, but that's the same thing for me as an empath. And empaths can be very dissociative. I have, because I was able to sort out that a lot of my wounding was in the first 2 years of my life. So we don't have any memory in the first 2 years of life, because we are completely merged with the mother, and we have no language. So there's no thought forming, and there's no ability to understand emotions. And so, but we can look at core issues in the first 5 years of life, and we can say, oh, well, you have probably a wounding at that age, and maybe something happened that you know about. So I know some things happened for me in my first 5 years of life, so I can identify certain things that have affected me. And that's helped me in terms of my understanding of what we have. So we don't have to remember, is what I'm trying to say. We can work with what shows up in our body and what our issues are that we finally feel that are at the core, and then we can work with that. So, and also empaths can be notoriously very ungrounded and flighty. And so the first aspect of this talk today is about grounding, and I will be going more into that in the 4 lessons in June. But essentially, grounding is about how we are present in our body. So it's about how we emanate presence. And what's presence all about, right? It's about really being aware of your body sensations. So being aware of the tightness or the pressure or the tension or the pain or the aching, and tracking it and noticing it. And also it's being aware of your body energy. So knowing, what is that mysterious energy that makes us feel alive? What is it that allows us to move our body and to think the mystery of all of that? And the emotions are the body's sensation patterns of energy that move. And so we can have a particular story and we can bring it to the body and we can get a consistency of emotional energy pattern. And then we can start really mapping out who we are and what our stuff is and how it affects us. And so we get triggered by it, we get ungrounded, but how do we stop that process and how do we intervene and create a new possibility and a new direction? And that's all about the work, that kind of work that I do. So I'm just going to take a few minutes now, and if you want to just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths and just allow yourself to naturally let that air move in and out of your breath, of your mouth, of your nostrils. Maybe you can even close your mouth for a minute and notice the difference of the temperature of the air going in and out of your nostrils. And maybe you can allow yourself to breathe out longer than you breathe in. So you take a deeper in-breath and allow the out-breath to be longer. So you might want to purse your lips to slow it down or just naturally do it. Doesn't matter to be through your mouth or your nose. You can allow yourself to feel your belly fill up with air and relax the muscles as it does that, like filling up like a balloon. And with each breath out, you can let yourself see if you can melt a little bit and let your shoulders relax a bit more. And just be aware of your energy. Where is the central point or the focus of your energy? Is it in your head? Is it in your upper chest? Is it in your belly? Or is it in your legs? Where is the bulk, the majority of your energy right now in this moment? What does that energy feel like? Is it a kind of streaming or a buzzing, aliveness? How can you actually palpably feel your energy? That energy is God's source energy within you that makes us alive. Mystery of that. Now, on a scale of 0 to 10, and 10 being most grounded, give yourself a number of where you think you are in terms of groundedness. It's not about being right about it. It's just about having it as a reference point for yourself. As you do techniques over time, it will change. So I'm just feeling today I have about a 7 out of 10 right now in this moment. So now I want you to visualize that you are a tree, that you are the most beautiful, the most wonderful, amazing tree that you feel a close kinship with, perhaps. Or maybe something just pops into your awareness of what that tree could be. And I want you to feel the presence with the strength of that tree and the rootedness of that tree. And imagine your energy following those roots down into the ground, into the earth, and really stabilizing you. Going down and down all through different shoots and roots. And it's filling up the earth with each breath in and each breath out. About the same size as the branches above your head and surrounding you. So if you feel that rootedness holding you stably in the earth and on the earth, I want you to also feel the energy of those branches and the leaves and how it's receiving light, light from the sun and light from God source energy, entering into your crown chakra. So as you're breathing in the rootedness of the earth, you're also that are moving in and out from your heart down into the earth. You're also breathing in that beautiful, loving light source energy through your crown chakra and the sun and the leaves of the tree. You are both. And letting your breath be as effortless as possible. See if you can continue to feel the body sensation of your belly and the breath going down into your belly. Letting that belly relax. And see if you can, what number pops into your head now, after only doing this for a few minutes. And the number that comes in my head is 8.5, but it'll be a different number for you maybe. So when you're ready, you can open up your eyes again, slowly, and we can talk about the second thing from grounding to growing. So ground, grow, and glow. Growing is about embracing change. It means that you're open and available to change. Most people resist change. Most people are uncomfortable with change. You could ignore it, and then what happens is it just gets forced on you, and you have to deal with it, but you're not prepared to how to deal with it. So embracing change is actually the better way. It's a deep principle of life, and it's extremely amplified at this time because we are going through a rapid collective shift, which is requiring all of us to need to change and challenging all of us. We're moving from one frequency to a higher frequency. And embracing change is also knowing that around us and in front of us, there's a lot of uncertainty and the unknown. And living with that is very hard for most people, to not be able to plan for their future, to know that this could be here today and gone tomorrow. There's a lot of things that create fear for us. And there are many ways that we can learn how to be strong in that uncertainty. And being part of a community really helps. And rather, because what happens is that anything that is difficult or fearful will contract us, and we can start to get isolated. And during that whole thing with the pandemic, where we were forced to be isolated, was really, really hard for many, many people. It actually created a lot of problems. And what we need to do now is to learn how to connect more with community and with others in order to really ground ourselves with more people. It really helps in so many different ways, both for the inner and the outer world, or the outer resiliency within ourselves. And we need to start to learn how to be more comfortable with the dark shadow emotions in order to work with them, to not be afraid of them, to allow them to be felt, seen, and heard, in order to know what the actual core root of it is, in order to heal it and let it go. So now we are lucky because now we are at a time where we can actually do this. And this cultivates fearlessness emotionally. And glowing means, like, the result of doing all of that allows us to really understand presence in a different way. Presence, the more present we are, the more connected we are, the more energy we have, the more vitality we have, and the more presence we emanate with our way that we express ourselves and the way that we live. And presence is also about cultivating and expressing the feeling of joy and love energies. And joy is the other side of body sensations patterns to track in the body. When you feel good, when you feel happy, when you feel love, where do you feel that? How does that change in your body? Really understand how to anchor that and remember it so that when you get triggered with a difficult shadow emotion energy state, you can start to intervene and do things that will shift it faster and faster into these positive feeling states. And so through this glowing aspect, we develop more depth with our inner self-awareness, and we can have deeper connections with others. And also we start to connect more. I do believe as human beings, we are meant to be spiritual and have more spiritual awareness and connections. And so that is a big part of healing and makes many empaths searching and wondering, what is this all about? Is there more? What's my life purpose? What's my soul purpose? All of that are spiritual quests to understand who we really are and what we're all about. And glowing and having more connection to positive feeling resources include any aspect of creativity that you can think of in painting, drawing, music, writing, also doing outdoor sports. Sports indoors is fine too, but I'm a big advocate for being outside in nature and doing what you can. So I'm really big into skiing and into hiking and canoeing and sailing. I don't do much of that though, but I used to do rock climbing and things like that. I just love those things. And also playing is a big, big part of lightening up and like dancing, things like that. Also doing ceremony and ritual are things that also can hold and move through greater and deeper presence with ourselves. And so we have basically 2 positive emotions and 5 essential negative emotions. The 5 essential negative emotions are grief, fear, anger, contempt, dismay, and shame is the lowest vibrational frequency. And that's the big core issue for many, many people. There's a lot of shame is about self-worth and never feeling you can do it right or good enough and all of that stuff. Anyways, I'm giving way too much information for today. I'm going to stop. But we can also have 2 positive emotions, and one of them is the energy going up, which is joy, excitement, focus. And the other one is energy going down, which is relaxation, peace, calm, stillness, and making space for spaciousness within. And so these are really important things to cultivate and understand. Also how to anchor in your body and access at any time. And so when you radiate your presence, your vitality emanates outwards, and this is your glow. And we actually need, as human beings, to fill up with this daily in different ways. And when we do it in community, it really amplifies. And when we do it in certain ceremonies and certain shamanic journeying or plant medicine journeys, we actually increase our not only our emotional resiliency, but also our immunity. So we can go from normal 100 microvolts in the brainwave frequency of average brain, and we can go to 1,000 in a trance state that just boosts you for days. So, or weeks even possibly. So this is where a lot of people are actually following and discovering, and these are the reasons why. So there are 3 stages of change. There are 3 stages of change. Where is that? All right. Okay. So we have disintegration, we have cocooning, and we have emerging. And so this is because, again, as I mentioned, we're going through a rapid expansion. So, whoops. Oh, I see. I have some. Okay, here we are. The first stage is disintegration. And so if you imagine a caterpillar, so there's a particular structure and form to a caterpillar. And when we have our ego, consciousness, and awareness, we have developed a particular way of viewing reality, viewing the world through the 5 senses in our body and the sensations in our body And that's what makes things real and solid. And that's how we actually create our reality in the world. And so a caterpillar has a certain form, but when it starts to morph into a butterfly, it goes through an initial disintegration process, which is what's happening in the world on a collective level now. So I've been doing this work for 30 years, and I understand having ego deaths in that process, but now I'm actually experiencing outside of me in the world that is blowing my mind. And so it's like there's their inner and outer. If it's happening for me, and I can see evidence of it in different structures in the world, it's disintegrating. It's happening for everybody. So this is a big collective phenomena. And so in that last stage in this slide here, pupae, something like that, the cocoon, there is a feeling of complete dissolution where you don't know what's the beginning, what's the ending, who you are. And that's just a stage of the change process. And it's really important to understand this and not be freaked out about it and think that you have to go to the hospital and get medicated and stop it, because actually you need to allow it through and need to allow it to move through in order to transform it into this cocoon process that you can see in those red things of these photographs, how that eventually evolves into the butterfly, into a whole new, different, lighter form with wings. And so I kind of like that. That's the background image I have of a person standing, very rooted, with a blossoming tree around it, but also kind of like wings. And so that was one of the things about AI generation that I just loved, that I created this image. And because I do have a little creepy thing about AI for sure. But wow, like this image, I just love this image. It means everything for me. So I'm offering 4 weekly lessons starting on June 6th, same time, Thursdays from 12 to 1:30 probably. We'll go over a little bit. And it'll be about how it can support you for how to move through this rapid expansion and higher vibrational frequency, that we're all moving into what is called 5-dimensional awareness. We're living on a 3rd-dimensional awareness. We're transitioning through the 4th dimension, and we're occasionally touching when we have synchronicities, and you see 11:11 all the time, or you have this the manifesting your parking spot closest to the entrance or whatever. Those are 5D glimpses. And so this is part of the 3rd stage, which is the emerging stage, how we are evolving and growing into that. And so the first lesson that's going to be happening on June 6th will be about basically going through the emotional alchemy of rooted resiliency a little more, and doing more detailed body sensation, felt awareness practices, and really understanding and more a stronger framework to I'm big into creating containers and boundaries, and teaching empaths how to ask for what they need. It's been something that I've struggled with for a long time, so I'm very passionate about it. And the second session is about really working with the shadow and working with a trigger, and learning how to start to learn how to track it, and how to map it out, and to understand how you can really be supported in this process. And the 4th lesson will be about receptivity, and really learning. A big problem with trauma is that it creates contraction into the body physically, and tightness, and inflammation, pain. All of that stuff is, in my opinion, at some point, it has an early relational trauma, emotional trauma response, but it can also be complicated with a lot of environmental toxins as well. So there's a whole integration of that, synthesis of that's really important to understand. And so we can really understand how to work with allowing our body to receive. And when we receive, we shift our dynamic with the world and with our own reality. And so we can discover how contraction, and expansion waves, cycles, and vibrational frequencies can be reorganized to inspire you to form new, positive, energetic patterns that will support you more consistently and sustainably with less effort. That's the whole point. I want to I'm always like curious, and I'm like, how fast can I move through this? I accept it, I allow it, but let's get it going. Just let it go. So it's not about sweeping it on the rug anymore. It's about allowing it and just staying present to it and moving through it. And it's not that hard. And it's not that scary. There's ways that you can do it very slowly and gently and just stay to the edge of it until you can feel safe. And so it's also about learning, what does it take for you to feel safe? And the final one is really cultivating radiant presence. So understanding what flow states are about and understanding how to attract that and what it feels like. We'll be doing an exercise around that as well. And really getting clear about the structure, the containment, the form that you need that allows this to alchemically transform into greater presence, peace, and passionate, radiant aliveness. So, I just thought it'd be helpful to give you 7 principles to follow in these auspicious times. So go low means these are grounding actions with connecting with nature, developing body sensation, presence, awareness. Know what's tight and contracted in your system versus open expansion states in your body. So that's go low. Go slow. So it's like stop, listen, slow down the speeding of your thinking, your actions, doing this, make space for nothingness, just being in the moment. Work with your breath, work with creating space inside of you repeatedly. Do less, which is let go of busyness, which is about saving your time versus spending and doing, as well as your energy and even just financially. And many of us are very, very busy. These times are like, time is really warping and going weird. And sometimes it's like super fast, it goes by, and sometimes it goes a little bit slower. So it's very unusual time, that's for sure. Keep it simple. So it's like, have simpler foods, nothing processed, eat better quality of food, is organic as much as possible will help. Cultivate your beingness, have less, low, or no digital times, like have a day of no looking at your phone at all. There's a whole addictive quality to that that's not healthy. And engage more physically with yourself. Hike, walk, yoga, exercise, weights, that kind of thing. And and take sleep. Make sure your sleep is solid and have naps. So there's different reasons why people are not sleeping well these days, which is I'll get more into during the training. And also it's a time of pause. So cultivating calm, stillness, spaciousness, understand how to come back from things that are triggering and challenging for you faster and faster, where you can recover and regenerate more quickly. Self-love and kindness with yourself and others. And be aware of your inner critic and the ways that you sabotage yourself. Really, what I teach is how you can really get into that. And I'll probably do some more specific training about that as a separate course another time. And yeah. And then the next one is really cultivate supports, community, and stock up on your emotional inner resiliency tools, as well as your outer resiliency tools. You might want to just stock up a little bit on 3 months worth of food. I say to people, I'm a big, regenerative resiliency. That's how I live on the farm. But originally I started off as a prepper for a year. And so the basic principles of survival prepping is 3 months of food in your cupboard will help a lot. But the very minimum, you could just have a huge bag or 2 of rice and a whole bunch of dried beans. And that'll get you by. So anyways, but generally we want and need more variety. We need at least like 50 different kinds of foods in our gut in order to have a super healthy microbiome. So there's a lot of information about all that. And so we are in a place of great change and incredible potential. And so it's about really accepting and allowing that we are all changing on a larger collective world transformational level, inside and outside. And there will be fallout, losses, and it will get much better as a result of this massive rapid change die-off process. And it will also be uh, 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 we are also, like, all of us are caterpillars morphing into butterflies, and we're deeply interconnected as one organism with the earth. So there are such huge weather pattern changes, and the poles are shifting. The electromagnetic frequency of the earth is unstable, and it's increasingly dysregulating us. So we really need to move through this together, supporting each other. There's really no other way. And so these are just examples of the kinds of ways that I teach in terms of exercises. This is just a vision board exercise and instructions to do a collage. And this is, I sometimes have action possibilities and handouts, sorting out things. This is for a homesteading course that I did a while back. And so just giving you an idea of the style and the content and the detail. As an architect, I'm like a major detail person. So I try to, like, slow it down a bit for people. Anyways, before read it, these lessons, starting in June, the price is $325 after the end of this month. So that's like 5 days before it starts. But for the next two days, the next 48 hours, there's a early bird $100 discount if you can sign up for then. And then if you miss that one, the next one is the following Saturday for $275, which is a $50 discount. And so I'm having a little technical glitches with my landing page to sign up for it. But if you're interested in it, you just need to send me an email, and you can just with your name and your intention. This is option 1, and option 2 is including a personal one-to-one session price. So also a $100 discount within the next 2 days, and then or $50 discount within the next today's Thursday, 10 days. So yeah, and whoops, this is just to show you, whoops, that my other side of me, the outer resiliency, is the eco community building and sacred ecology living, and the different kinds of things that I do there. And that was on the bottom left corner is one of the straw bale buildings that I designed and was built near Guelph, Ontario. And I have done some little books on homesteading and home energetic balancing that I'm going to reissue one day. And this is me in the bottom right-hand corner building a straw clay building with a friend of mine, and we decided to wear our party dresses while we were girls building things. And so I really enjoy that very much. I love building. So my main work is as now is as a body soul psychotherapist, and my specialty is in relational trauma. And then Wild Earth Wisdom is this emerging work that is slowly evolving, and which is what I'm doing now. And the bottom right one here is the Wild Earth Wisdom website, which is a community website that I started about a year or so ago, and it's still emerging in its growth. We have about 100 members now, and it's growing. And these are the events that are coming up in May and in June. And so today is the first one, and on Saturday there's a private plant medicine journey, and we'll be doing that maybe monthly. I'm not sure, that we're just seeing what's possible. Maybe in August, I'm not sure. Anyways, we're looking at our schedule with how that can happen. And then in June starts the rooted resiliency teachings, but on the middle of oh, that's supposed to be May. That's just supposed to be June. Saturday, June 14th, 16th, there's a private shamanic training that's happening here. But Natty Howard's work is amazing. If you want to find out more about it, I can let you know. And then I'm going to be doing on Saturday, June the 22nd, an evening of shamanic visioning and a little social potluck, and then an evening circle of sound healing and so on. So that should be great. And I think that's it. So we've gone a little bit over 1, not too bad. And oh, no, it looks like I'm right at 1 o'clock. So Maybe if anybody has any questions, I'm going to close this sharing screen now, and yeah, and see if anybody has anything they want to send. If you don't, that's fine too. But yeah, I'm here. Just let me know. You can unmute yourself if you want to, or you can ask a question if you're shy and you want to put it in the chat box.
Hi.
Hi, Lo.
Yeah, I'll probably sign up for. Yeah, I'll try to get the discount, so I'll sign up in the next 2 days. But,
oh, that's so great.
There's and there's a second program that is one-on-one. Is that what you mean? Also,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
An
option
okay.
two. I'll send an email to everybody by the end of the day, hopefully sooner than later, and I'll have everything in there. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. And I also send a replay with that as well. Great question. Thank you. Well, if there is no other action, then I think I'm just going to close it. And if you have any questions that come up for you afterwards, you can certainly contact me, send me an email. It's Ingrid@buildingsoul.ca is the best email, INGRID @buildingsoul, SOUL, .ca, and BUILDSOUL.ca. And yeah, I will hopefully see some of you soon in June. Take care. Bye-bye.